Hello and welcome to the third Let's Play in Thrones of Britannia. Today we're going to be looking at one of the factions from the Great Viking Army, Northymbre. After taking the lands from the native Anglo-Saxons in the region, it is now truly a Viking stronghold. After the death of Halfdan Ragnarsson in the previous year, Guthrith, a man said to be a former slave, has taken up the rulership of these lands. He is actively working to break down the barriers between the Vikings and the English. But he is a Viking, and Vikings love war. Northymbre have a difficult campaign throughout, having to battle enemies on many fronts and from within, as we have many disloyal characters within our ranks. So we will have to battle to appease not only them, but also the native English and our armies. This is our unique faction mechanic, replacing heroism or legitimacy. This makes the campaign a delicate tightrope walk throughout, and falling off can have disastrous consequences. I'm going to be going for the ultimate victory condition, however my main goal is survival first and foremost.
Ragnar died here, killed by an English king. How fitting that we now rule his lands. For 10 years, the great army ravaged England before we settled the conquered lands of Northumberland. We have carved out a kingdom of our own on an understanding between Viking and English. But it is a fragile alliance, requiring the right king to lead it. If we remain strong, all of England lies open before us. If not, we will follow Ragnar to his grave.
We start 11 turns into the campaign. I have already defeated West Moringas and claimed their lands for my own, much to the annoyance of North Leod as they sought to take it and invade my lands on two fronts. So now they only have one front to attack me from, and no doubt it will come soon. The fight against West Moringas was fairly simple, with Guthrith leading the attack against them, smashing their army in one foul swoop and claiming their lands soon after. I've also improved some of my buildings, giving me more income and food to grow my armies. I have managed to keep a fairly stable rule, keeping the English and my army level. My nobles are stable and loyal to me since I've been giving them priests when they level up, which grants 1 extra loyalty. Well, we all knew this was coming. There was only so long that we could be at peace. North Leod have declared war on me. I have 2 armies on the borders, but they do need to recruit more men. However, we can push north as there isn't an army in the east. So I'm going to push up and capture Gurham and move Guthrith towards the border so he can still replenish. This has driven their 2 armies apart. They need to take back Gurham so they can keep their armies fed. If they run out of food, their men will starve. This gives me a good opportunity to push the attack in the west, as my army is about the same strength as theirs, with similar level unit types. The battle begins with Guthrith charging into the enemy line, and soon the battle descends into a fierce melee. The fighting is incredibly intense, but it is clear that we're going to win the day. Just as our victory looks so secure, Guthrith is slain, dealing a huge morale penalty to my men. Nevertheless, not a single man even thinks of leaving the battlefield, their thirst for slaughter growing ever more with the want to avenge their king. It is a victory for us, but what awaits us now? With Guthrith dead, Sifridus inherits his kingdom, and questions over this 18-year-old's ability to rule are flying everywhere, and loyalty is on the wane. I must stabilise my rule as quickly as possible. The first task is to seek a wife, so that I may continue the family line. I'm going to push further into North Leod territory, attacking the small force that's there and killing everyone in a small act to avenge my father. I'm also moving one of my more loyal generals into Manchester to hold more influence over the region. It isn't long before my nobles seek to take advantage of this situation. Knowing that I'm in a weak position, they ask me to look the other way to some of their more dubious actions. In return, they offer to keep me on my throne, and if I refuse, I will lose the last of my influence, essentially giving up my kingdom. It is a horrific position to be in, but it will rectify in time. I will allow them to continue. It is time I bolstered my force, with both my brothers and one of my nobles' forces being far larger than mine. Their loyalty is looking shaky, and I need to be able to fight off anyone who may challenge my right to rule, especially someone with a strong claim like my brother. I will have to keep a close eye on everyone around me. Traitors could be anywhere. And by recruiting more axe units, I've unlocked my first tech, allowing me to research the infantry unit branch, in turn giving me access to shield biters, an early game berserker unit. It isn't long before I have my first child, a son called Tofig. Unfortunately, he isn't legitimate, but this may become an issue down the line. A few months later, and it becomes known to me that one of my nobles is blackmailing my brother. So rather than allowing this to weaken my position further, I have to pay him off. The Northymbre army has marched away from Carlisle towards the village of Hagustalds, which I had recently taken in a brief conquest along with Rochester. They have gathered some more men to their fight, but my army is nearby, and boy did they want to fight. I've pushed into the village and taken a defensive position inside, making sure they cannot outflank me. By putting my strongest units in the front, in the shield castle formation, I'm building a solid wall for them to crash into, while also deflecting missile fire that will be coming their way before the combat starts. I'm putting my new smaller units of axemen on the left-hand side, out of sight with my cavalry, so as soon as my main force is engaged, I can run around and hit them in the rear, and collapse on their missile units, creating a slaughter. I'm going to reoccupy this village and replenish my men. A few months later, and I have a dilemma: how to record our histories, with books or runestones. Each option will make one side happy and anger the other, but as I'm -11 with the English, I'm going to go with books and make them happy. I've been able to siege the settlement of Carlisle, and with a quick auto-resolve it will be in our hands. I'm going to occupy it so I can try and replenish my supplies. North Leod have marched south, taking the village of Rochester and pushed further into my lands. I'm going to go out and fight them in the field and destroy them, then push into their lands for some nice raiding opportunities. Meanwhile, their allies have marched on Carlisle, sieging it. My Viking warriors will cut through them, and then I'm going to go into their lands and raid them too. One of my men has become so disloyal, he has raised his banner in rebellion, sparking a civil war. Thankfully, it was a governor, otherwise he would have taken half of my army. So I'm going to turn back and take it. This time I'm going to liberate it so I don't have to deal with another governor. During this time, my main army has marched north, taken Manroth, and raided Dimbart and Coldingham. They now have marched south onto Beddenburg, the capital of North Leod. We are now ready to attack and take revenge for the killing of my father, and end this war once and for all. Flooding my men onto the walls while also breaking down the gate has given me ample opportunity to overwhelm the defenders, and they are swiftly dealt with, opening the city to be raided and torched. There is nothing much left but ash when we are done.